Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, the season is over. Rest in peace, 2024 to 2025. That was the life of the season. I mean, that's the life of every season, but this one died a painful death, a slow, painful death. We're here to mourn it. We're also here to talk about Devin Booker's very fascinating wrap-up comments and what they mean. A lot to dive into next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on a Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, so click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode, folks, brought to you by the Locked On Suns Daily Newsletter. Don't forget to sign up at LockedOnDaily.com. Lots of Suns news and NBA news. I have a sneaking suspicion will be coming down the pike, so you'll want to get all of it straight to your inbox for free by typing that email address in at LockedOnDaily.com. Okay. Joining me as always, for the last time this year, PHX Arena, where Karma by Taylor Swift finally ended and we can get our podcast going. Ben Garcia.
I didn't know that song was playing in the background.
It was booming when
I know
the cleaners were first coming out
here. I know that is the theme that my wife went with when she went to the Taylor Swift concert. Big Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. I'm sure anything, a Taylor Swift concert, staring at a blank wall, watching grass grow, would have been more fun than this Suns season. I think that I have been bamboozled in my first season covering this team, that it was a rough one, and maybe it's a part of earning my stripes with this team. Tonight was rough, man. It never felt like the Suns were going to win, even when they were up 12. It never felt real.
No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no
Lou
random
Dort?
other guy. Yeah, Lou Dort, AJ Mitchell, who doesn't even really matter. Kassan Wallace was out. They rested half their team, which I thought they might do because they played a pretty hard-fought game last night, but it didn't matter because hometown kid Jalen Williams showed up. Chet Holmgren had a big third quarter. Their defense was stifling as always. They could play their, G League squad and probably hold the Suns to, less than 110 if they really wanted to. So, not surprising.
Fast. They gave up fast in this game. As soon as, I didn't even feel like all year I've been using these boxing analogies to describe the Suns getting gut punched, not being able to stand back up. The Suns were up by 12, 14 points early in this first half. As soon as Oklahoma City closed the gap in the end of that first half, I think it was 61-55 at one point, after they were up by 13 points, they just jabbed the Suns. It felt like Oklahoma City Thunder was literally just playing we're just going to have some fun tonight. Nothing matters for us.
Yeah.
And the Suns, no answer. As soon as they had the first excuse to roll over and die, they rolled over and died. And the Thunder were the proverbial doctor that finally pulled the cord on this Suns season.
And
we tripped over it.
Yeah, we will talk about Book's comments, one in particular, and then just kind of the whole gamut of it. But, he said one thing that I feel like is what everyone's feeling right now when he was asked about just his thoughts as the season's now sort of officially over. We don't even know if he'll play the last three games. KD has two games. KD has no reason to do that now that he's missed All NBA, and he may not even be here. So why go out? It's just sports. That's what happens. Book said it's been a slow bleed, and I wasn't even surprised tonight. And that's a crazy thing to say, but it's also the kind of thing you can say when it's really over, and you can just be a little bit more transparent. And it's, I think, the kind of thing that might be nice to hear from the best player on this team at this point, because at least he's not BSing. You know what I mean? Because there's been a lot of games like this all year, and then you listen to what the guys say, whether it's the coach or the players, and get them tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. This was like, yeah, this is who we are, basically. It was an admission of reality.
It's almost like they wanted to lose tonight. Like, they're competitors. They don't,
I think so. I think last night and tonight.
Of course. I think that
we're not going to Sacramento.
I think this one was even worse than last night because if I'm not mistaken, they scored. No, I'm not mistaken. They scored nearly 40 points in the first quarter. Like, they came out.
39, yeah.
They came out guns a-blazing. They were shooting the ball well. Colin Gillespie had a couple of nice shots. But it was funny. I was talking to.
It's like you're talking to the boxing analogy. It's like they just kind of like put their cheek up toward you know what I mean? Like third quarter, they're like, please just finish
knock
us off.
out.
Like,
it was like I mean, the analogy that I would like to use as well is like they were Old Yeller and someone finally took them to the back and finished the job. And the Thunder. I mean, listen, man. I think it'd be disingenuous of me to act like I was up here watching this game, like just rooting for them to get in the play-in, but like I was ready to be done.
everyone is.
As much as the Suns were.
And then I said yesterday, right, when I was at the end of the show, I was like, you know,
we'll
be back with you after the game. And I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to watch. Like, I mean, why would you? This team's not earning that. But, yeah, so I guess we should, you know, be technical about this. The Mavs did lose tonight. And the only path that the Suns had was to win out and have the Mavs lose out, which is why most people were basically already writing the season off. But there was a glimpse of hope, a glimmer of hope. And Mavs still left it open. Suns just did not seize it. They had Luka's homecoming and had a nice effort, but we expected the Lakers to win that game. They did. Dallas didn't hold up their end of the bargain, and the Suns still, even with that, you would think some teams would look at that and go, okay, like
because
they lost, like we're still in this.
I
Let's
was
go.
looking
and
at it,
nothing.
And I was like, because they were up 14 at that point. This was right at the end of the first quarter. And I had said to Shane Young, a guy we talk about oftentimes on this show, guy that we both know, and I said, hey, who does Dallas have? Toronto, probably going to be a tough one to lose. But then they had Memphis, and Memphis had a lot to play for. And I'm like, hey, if the Suns win this game, San Antonio and Sacramento. Now, listen, I think they lose both those games because that's just where I'm going to lean at this point. But I was like, I mean, it's not impossible that they get in. And then I had said, but, like, do they even want to get in? I think that's a great point you had said, is like, just please someone finish us off. And it moved over from last night to tonight where it wasn't just Booker. Man, there was a couple of times tonight I thought he was going to rip Mason Plumlee's head off for some of the miscues that the center position was having today. Not really Oso, more so just Mason Plumlee. But I'm shocked. Like, there wasn't, like, an outburst from Booker tonight. Not that this is a good or a bad thing that he did. It's always good to keep your composure. But there was a point in this game where I was like, I think he's just going to get thrown out of this game. I think he's just going to curse out a ref just to get out of this mess and to just put an exclamation point. But they went down. They went down very quickly. I mean, they folded like a cheap tent, man. There was zero fight left in this team. They've quit on the coach. They've quit on each other. And I think that does come down on Devin Booker, who looked like a Bradley Beal, whatever. But Devin Booker looked like a defeated player over the last week.
Yeah.
And they finally broke, man. And honestly, I'm thrilled for it because now we have clarity. And instead of dissecting this game, we can finally dissect how the hell we're going to fix it.
Yeah, so let's get to what Book said post-game, specifically starting with him revisiting that 8-1, 9-2 start and some of the steps that he said were skipped. We'll break that down next. First, today's show is brought to you by TurboTax. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. And Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with the TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy, all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. No Intuit, just TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Today's episode also brought to you by our lovely friends at PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. Baseball season is in full swing. Just flush the basketball season down the drain. There's no better way to get in on the baseball action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. As I said, with PrizePicks, you can pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you win up to 1,000 times your cash. So whether that's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, PrizePicks keeps every game exciting. I think last time we partnered up with PrizePicks, I just told you guys to ride Corbin Carroll because I believe it was 2 years ago, not last year when he struggled. And I just said, hey, this one's fun because you can go hits, you can go stolen bases, you can go homers in some games. It's a little bit more with a player like that, the toolsiness, you can kind of go anywhere. Or you just go straight down the middle. Hey, Aaron Judge probably going to hit more than 1 home run a lot of days. Maybe you go strikeouts on a dominant pitcher. It's that kind of thing. You go 2 to 5 players, any of their stats, more or less, not an opponent, not a league, not a pool. It's just you versus those projections. Get it right and watch the money come in. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, let's keep it rolling here.
Should I yell at Jalen Williams over here and just be like, hey, thank you for ending the season. Like, we appreciate it. You played a massive part in this.
And thank you to, I believe it was Grayson Allen for the poster not landing. That was that almost got ugly.
That one was the audible sound that was made by everyone in this booth over here.
That's what I thought you were.
It was
That's what I thought of when you were mentioning that they were kind of just goofing around at a certain point. He was just trying stuff out there. But yeah, he's
just out here.
He's talking to his
kissing
buddies.
babies.
Shout out Perry High School. We both went to the same high school.
Right.
And
I think he went to Pinnacle.
No.
I don't know why I would try to go at you for thinking you went to the right high school. You know what is funny?
Shout out Jalen Williams. Shout out Koa Pete. You got it going to U of A this year.
If you stay long enough at these games, I don't know if they'll let you. Players are just going to stand in the stands. Like, every game, home game that I'm here, it's like banger after banger NBA superstar just hanging out in the stands.
Unless they got a back-to-back.
Well, that is true. But yeah, he's just hanging out, and I just want to give him like a thank you, honestly, because we finally cannot. We don't need to, like, when the Suns play again, we don't need to be like, oh, how'd they dissect this game? We can talk about anything other than that. So, anyways.
So Booker was asked, as I said, about, he was specifically asked about since the trade deadline, how things have gone. But he went all the way back to the beginning, and he said that he felt like the team got ahead of itself after the 8-1, 9-2 start that they had. He said that they were barely, scraping by in those games. Later, he went to the Montyism of never too high, never too low, and he said that they really did not, live that mantra at all this season, and they were way too high after that point in time. They were way too low at other points when they had bad losses or bad stretches of games. And we'll get to the bigger thing, but I kind of was, Book kind of, teed us up on this because I was already going to ask you this question on the podcast of where this season kind of broke down. Like, what really went wrong along the way? Because it's been ugly for a while, but it did start really high. And
really high.
There were all these trade rumors, and it's been a crazy season. So what do you think when now it's officially they've been eliminated? What happened here?
I think the Suns rode the high of some of the, because it was, you and I talked about this for the first 2 weeks of the season. They were in close game after close game after close game, and they were winning those games because of Kevin Durant's late heroics in most of those games. And Kevin Durant goes out after that 9-1 start, 8-1 start, and I remember even telling you verbatim, I was like, it's okay that he's out because they bought themselves this cushion of 8-1 that when he comes back, they'll be okay. And then it comes to find out he comes back when I believe that they were literally 8-8. They were perfectly balanced, perfectly mid. I think when Kevin Durant went out, the Suns' false confidence of how good they were, similar to that 3-game win streak where they beat the Cavs and they beat the Bucks a couple of weeks ago. When Kevin Durant went out, it exposed their true issues of who they were. They got their pants pulled down, and they got beaten up by every single other team. And you and I kept on talking about, why are they this bad without Kevin Durant? And then Kevin Durant came back, and it didn't solve anything. Guys running out of the lineups. We couldn't figure out a change. Bradley Beal goes to the bench at one point. none of it made any sense. And after Kevin Durant went out, like that's where I would say where the season just fell apart. This team got exposed for who they were, and you said it better than anyone a couple weeks ago that the 8-1 start was the fluke.
Yeah.
It wasn't the 3-0 whatever or the whatever the Suns were. This is always who they were, and it was never going to get any better.
Yeah, I think when I try to answer the question, to me, I want to throw like a hypothetical at you to think of a different possibility, but it's another thing I've already said, but I'll just reiterate it since it's on everybody's minds. Like, to me, a lot of this broke down when whatever happened with Jusuf Nurkic happened. Whether that was in training camp, him and Bud not getting off to the right foot. Maybe it was when Frank Vogel got fired and there was no chance Nurk could play at that level without Vogel putting him in that position to succeed. Maybe it was not responding well to that opening week of the season when he got benched in the fourth quarter of, I think it was the Dallas game, when Luka still played for that team. And I think a lot of it might be able to be boiled down to that, because without him, their center rotation went to crap. And when their center rotation went to crap, the defense had no chance of even being average with Mason Plumlee, Nick Richards, Oso Ighodaro playing in that spot. And it might have just been over from there before we didn't even maybe realize it at the time. But the question I was going to ask you, though, too, is like those were very early. Both of our answers were really early, and maybe that's a little bit of like hindsight's 20/20. I do think there's something to be said for the fact that the Jimmy cloud, it might have like extinguished any chance that they had mentality-wise from fixing it. I'm not going to say that it was broken before that, which is why they were exploring it, in my opinion. But to have that it was late November when that first came out. That's almost 3 months of this season where everybody and their mom was talking about Jimmy Butler. Bradley Beal's going to the bench, like you mentioned. Guys are getting asked about it. It's in every freaking NBA headline. For 3 months, that to me, I do think you got to give that a little bit of credence, where it didn't break them, but it definitely might have prevented them from getting their heads right.
Well, how about it broke Bradley Beal, which is one of the main foundations of this team, whether you like it or not. That's what this team was built off of. This team's identity was always going to be our best 3 players are going to be top 5 players in any series we play in, and we're going to go as they go. And I would encourage, now listen, this is not an excuse. You make $50 effing million a year. Part of the territory comes with trade rumors. Yeah. But what I will say is...
And he was bad before that, we should say.
Yeah, but when people say things like... Yeah, but I thought he had a competitive bone in his body. Since Bradley Beal has came back, or since the Jimmy Butler stuff has ended, I literally don't think he cares. I think he has poked fun at I got my $50 million. Like, I think he's agitating on purpose. I think he knows what he's doing. And so I would...
Go ahead.
Well, I would just say I would encourage fans to, like, think if you worked in an office and the rumor around the office was how quickly they cannot wait to get rid of you for someone else, and then it eventually doesn't happen, how you would react. You'd be in a bleep you mentality too.
Yeah.
The difference is you make, whatever, $60,000, $70,000 a year. This guy makes $50 million a year, so there's no excuse there. But I think that psychological part, like one bad apple spoils the whole bowl. I think Bradley Beal is a prime suspect for why this season fell when it did. So the Jimmy Butler stuff, I think he felt disrespected and it ruined everything.
It is. I mean, you look at the main, aside from Nurkic, the other main difference between last year and this year is you could always hang your hat last season on when the big three's on the court. They're good. They're
elite.
Great. They're great. And the numbers said that, the record said that, the eye test said that. They had signature wins when they could get those 3 guys healthy, obviously up until the postseason when it broke down. But, yeah, I think anybody would have reacted that way. I just think, I mean, I know you know that. Everybody knows this. But part of why I can't give him that benefit of the doubt is he also, with his play, deserved the benching.
Yes.
It wasn't, like, maybe, I'm not naive enough to sit here and go, no, it wasn't a power move. It wasn't mind games with the trade rumors. Of course, it could have been that. Like, I'm not I'm not an idiot. It could have very well have been the team trying to send him a message to say, like, you're just nothing, whatever, we'll trade you. But I also think he played pretty terribly for the first 2-3 months of the year to where that was more than deserved, and so I just can't, extend him that much grace on that whole thing. But
I was trying to find when Bradley Beal got benched for the first time. I thought it was against the Nets where he dropped that 30-burger, but it was right in the middle of all the speculation of Bradley Beal where they had already disrespected him in his eyes, throwing him in trade conversations. But, like, when people go after Beal, obviously I think the personal shots are obviously very corny because it's basketball at the end of the day. We're not debating, real-life things.
And he didn't trade for himself.
No. And
you know what I mean?
Like when people are talking about, like, this guy is stealing $50 million. No, someone offered it to him, and he took it. And I don't fault him for that. What I fault Bradley Beal is like last night, he's laughing after Stephen Curry hits a shot. Like,
that's what I was going to bring up when I didn't want to interrupt you. Is we hadn't seen that last night when we recorded. Mm-hmm. That was insane.
That was embarrassing. Like, that is the lowest of the low.
That's something where
how do you not care?
What you said that he's like almost trolling, I feel like has to be right. Like,
100%.
How do you actually do something like that in good conscience? Like in with the
like. If
you're not trolling.
If the Suns were a top 6 seed, like, we're not even going to go anywhere. Like, say they're the 6th seed, right? And they're playing competitive basketball, and that happens. Like, oftentimes players will cross up another player, score it, and like both of them trying to laugh it off because it was a really good play, right? There's a difference between, like, competitive spirit and you just got and what I saw last night.
Especially when your season's on the brink. And you're the worst team.
Timeliness
matters.
matters.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of thing you see. Like, I think we didn't even, we were here, but I think on the TNT broadcast they called it All-Star Game defense. I think was like I saw that go viral. That I don't even know who was on the game last night, but they said the Suns were playing All-Star Game. That looked like a moment you would see in the All-Star Game.
Yep.
Where Steph pulls up from 100 feet and somebody goes, "Oh, you got me," and then you kind of chuckle back down the court because nobody cares about the All-Star Game. But you should care about a game that is a must-win with your season basically about to be over. It was unbelievable.
Was there a point in this season that you felt like was the most embarrassing? Like, I think, like, one singular moment where you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that should be incredibly embarrassing. Because I got one.
Go for it, because that's the thing I've been trying to think. Like, last season I had them, but I think because last season happened, it just didn't bowl me over the same way, where, like, singular moments don't quite stick out in my mind. Like, last season there was that first quarter where the Clippers, they were about to break the record for fewest points that the team had ever scored in a quarter. It was like 40-8 or something. There were, like, definite ones in that. This, I don't have it.
I'd be really encouraged to hear what the everydayers have in the comment section. I'd be like, what was the most ridiculous or embarrassing point of the season? But easily the one for me is when Luka Doncic said I'd never been open so much in my entire life. That, he was being serious and laughing about it because he was absolutely right. It was YMCA defense, and it's like you're Luka effing Doncic. You are the key part of every team's defensive game plan. And when he came out and said, I've never been open so much in my entire life, that was telling to me on how much Swiss cheese the defense was. And a lot of defense is effort. And the Suns didn't even have that. So that's what I would point to right away. I think about that all the time.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of losses, like, New Year's Eve to the Grizzlies.
I remember that one.
There was a lot of different ones along the way, but like I said, those didn't surprise me when they happened because it was just one after the next. But let's get to the rest of what Booker said, and this will be obviously a thread we'll follow up on, I'm sure. I would hope he'll speak again next week, end of season stuff, but I think he understood the magnitude of the moment and took some time to talk about the culture, talk about, accountability and hard conversations this offseason, so we'll get to that coming up next. First, today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA playoffs are coming up, and DoorDash is obviously along for the ride. They swoosh, you save thanks to Dash Pass. Every time that a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the very next day. That includes the postseason from everything that I am seeing, although maybe you got to take advantage this weekend. I would just go ahead and hedge on that side. When any player scores 50 or more in a game the rest of the year, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order up to $10 the next day from noon to midnight. So whether you're planning maybe a watch party for the play-in. Maybe you want to see if the Lakers can fall in the standings. That might feel pretty good. Whatever it might be, or you're just hungry and you don't even care about the NBA anymore. Dash Pass is the place to go. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more the rest of the year in the NBA, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the very next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight the following day on eligible orders at participating merchants after those 50-point games. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. I think Luka might have had 50 actually tonight. I don't know if you want
45.
45. Okay, not
just
quite.
a
Not getting you your meals the way that he should. Although I won't do that. I won't do a weight joke on Luka. But you could fill in the gap if you want.
Listen, man, you can make weight jokes on dudes when they're one of the best basketball players of all time. Because at that point, it's just funny. That the dude could have hookah.
I'm right, but also he's right.
Yeah, it's
There's
like
no joke.
I think
it's facts.
I think it's impressive that he could just down a couple of brewskis and still be better than us at everything.
Yeah,
like that's a true talent. I don't know how the longevity is going to go in terms of his body holding up, but it is funny to see him do that.
So I think there's two key. Well, let's go three key things. We'll close with one from Mike Budenholzer because I think that's a good note to close on. But from my standpoint, and you have some of Book's quotes up on your screen too, so you can throw in anything else that feels relevant to you. But to me, the two things that I took away being in there today, and I asked him a question, I'll get to that, but one was about culture. He really returned back to that, and it was a little bit on the side of the answer that we were talking about in that last segment of how the 8-1 start, they got a little bit too high, and he felt like all the way maybe dating back to training camp that they just didn't build a culture of whatever this group identity was going to be, whatever, the new coaching staff. He wasn't going to throw anybody under the bus or name names. That's, a little bit, irresponsible, unprofessional. But basically he included everybody as well as himself. And that lack of a foundation, that lack of a culture was the thing that that was sitting with him. And he said that was going to be a major focus for him this summer. He said that he wanted to be vocal about that. So a bunch of people asked other questions, and then I came back I was the last one, and I wanted to follow up because I felt like that was something he said on purpose. We know Book is not always in everybody's faces. We know he's not always in the media chirping about different things.
He's calculated.
If he's saying vocalize, I felt like that was on purpose, so I said, with who? Your teammates, the management, whatever. He said everybody. He said both. Both of the things I gave him, he took. So it's a different tune. I mean, it's a very different tune than a couple of seasons ending recently where, for better or worse, Book didn't say anything after the end of the season, and I've been very critical. I think that's a terrible way to handle himself.
I know in the Nuggets series he did not.
And the Dallas series. So it was both of those. And the year before that was COVID, so they didn't really do a formal thing. And
he was off to Japan right
last
away.
season, I believe that he did. Yeah, exactly. And so last year, I believe that he did. But that season there was less to tell because it was like, they rolled over. So, but yeah, I think that him doing this means something, and I think the focus on culture is interesting to me because that's a more deep-seated thing rather than just saying we got to find the right pieces. We got to, blah, blah. It was like, I feel like that's him taking a pretty big amount of that responsibility on himself and saying, I need to make us have a culture.
Yeah, he needs to be the leader. But it's really hard when you're not the best player. Like, when it works sometimes. Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. You can be the leader and not be the best player on a team. What it doesn't work was Kevin Durant being the best player and him trying to be the leader. Because I will continue to push that I don't think Booker and Kevin Durant have ever had a relationship where Devin Booker can check Kevin Durant. I think everyone has always been scared to check Kevin Durant. I think that's why the Warriors thing blew up. And I think Booker, if he was speaking candidly, would say, hey, man, I know you don't want to be a leader, but help me out here to try to set the example. This season is not on Kevin Durant's shoulders. This is, I would argue, more so on Devin Booker's shoulders if we're just talking about culture, because I expect him to be the leader of this team. And Bud, that guy's, I don't even want to, we will, but like, he's so far gone. Like, the dude's already got his bags packed and he's headed all the way back to Holbrook. Like, that's what's happening with Coach Bud right now.
Hopefully he's upgraded. I mean, Holbrook's nice, but
have you ever been to Holbrook?
Nice LA home, no.
Piece of dump, man.
Okay, well, I was trying to be nice.
No, it's a dump. Anyways, when we're talking about the culture, I think it's more on Devin Booker than it is Kevin Durant. But yeah,
I mean, I know
we've
you.
talked about
I
this.
agree with you that Bud's so far gone that it's almost like laughable to even say like that he
Yes, I
could
get
have
what
been part of the solution, but he should have been part of the solution, right? Like if you go back, Monty got here before Chris. Like I think Chris maybe helped take them to a championship level of foundation, but Monty brought them out of the freaking depths of hell. I mean, like this team was a joke. No one ever showed up here. Nothing mattered about this franchise until Monty showed up, and he made a significant impact. Like I hate to even kick Bud while he's down, but whatever. Like it is what it is.
Dude makes
I was
millions.
listening to him today, and like Cam Cox, who we were pulling some clips up, he's been really harping on this. Like, what happened to you're the hometown coach? He was asked about his message for the remainder, like how do you even, roll the ball out for the last 2 games now that you've been mathematically eliminated? And I'm not even just saying this because it came up on the podcast just now. I really was thinking this in the moment sitting in there. I was like, Monty would have taken the opportunity to say, we're going to play for our fans. That's what the last 2 games mean, especially Friday's a home game. We got to not embarrass ourselves and come play with some self-respect and deliver for people who are paying thousands of dollars to come be here. And Bud just went, we're all professionals. It's kind of what you got to do. It's like, I think that it's so clear the difference between that point in time around here and this point in time. And I appreciate that Book is not beating around the bush on that.
Do you remember last year when, I don't know who asked him, but Vogel was asked, do you feel, whatever, I'm paraphrasing, confident that you'll be here next year? Do you have confidence from ownership that you'll be here next year? I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And he said yes.
Yeah.
He was asked by Dwayne Ringen tonight if he's
Bud
been assured.
was.
Yeah, Bud was asked by Dwayne Ringen tonight if he was been assured by Matt Ishii he'll be back next year. He goes, nope, there's been no conversations. He's so.
He was
far
kind
gone.
of deflecting where he's been doing this because he was kind of asked about it yesterday too, and he's basically like, I'm not focused on that right now. So his answer was a little like, oh, there's nothing to say. But he also did give it away where it's like, okay, but it's not yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I mean, none of us would have assumed it would be, but his non-answer was an answer in that situation. So, I mean, I think that, to me, like, and we'll record again Sunday and
we're so far
have time,
removed.
but I think that Shams tweet's hitting Monday morning. I mean, like, I think, or Sunday night, frankly. Like, I think it's not. And you know what else is telling? Ishbia hasn't even been here this week.
Yep.
I think he'll be here Friday would be my guess, but he's just like, whatever.
I cannot wait to preview Ishbia's. He will address the media. That's what that guy does. I cannot wait to preview his meeting and talk about what the hell I want to hear. And if I hear for 1 second the disingenuous lie that even 10 teams in the NBA want to be 5 want to be the Suns.
I don't think he'll go back to that line. I would hope. It's just a counter each offseason. How many teams want to be the Suns?
Man. He said last year I went on when after he had we're kind of going over, but that's what this is. It's fresh. We're reacting. I think it's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
But when I went on the air on Fox Sports 910 and I was filling in and I was doing a 4-hour radio show, I spent 2 hours, half the damn show, ripping into Ishbia for that godforsaken meeting.
Yeah.
Him going in there and saying, we won 49 games. That's one less than 50.
And the worst part to me with that, which I think they'll learn from this year, which is why I'm expecting maybe a quicker decision, is the insane thing about him doing that.
Vogel should have been fired by then.
Yeah, they didn't have an answer on Vogel or frankly James Jones, even though he made James Jones go speak before him.
Yeah,
and then he comes in, he's like, we're not sure if he's going to work here next year. What the hell?
When you look back at that, I obviously wasn't at that. I just pulled clips when I was doing that show. And I remember being like, what the heck? This was literally thrown together.
Yeah.
I don't think he gave anyone a script of what was going to happen.
I think he was genuinely surprised that the reaction was so negative.
Oh, it was. I remember ripping him to shreds.
I mean, even like almost like to the sweep. Obviously, you get swept and it was ugly, but I think he was expecting like they'll get him next year. And then the fact that it was so negative, I think he felt like he had to go say something, but he didn't know what he wanted to say. So anyway, I would hope that will be step 1 this offseason of hoping that Matt Ishbia has learned some freaking lessons, is that he can get the PR aspect of it right and then maybe nail some of the moves in the meantime.
As of right now, I do think he will adjust the media. As of then, do you think there will be decisions made on Jones and Bud?
Yeah, I mean,
They're
they're
literally shutting the lights
kicking
out on
us
the
out.
season. They're literally shutting the lights out on the season.
So let's end, because I think that's a bigger conversation. I think by the time he speaks, they will have made that decision, but I kind of think you have to make them together. And the Jones part, we haven't talked at all about. So I kind of want to
Down.
thumbnail that one, and we'll talk Sunday, I think, on that, because
I
I don't anticipate we'll have a heck of a lot to discuss outside of Jalen Bridges' minutes on Sunday against the Kings. So.
Oh, really quickly, Booker and KD, you think they play the rest of the season?
No.
Okay, I don't think so.
KD
either.
definitely not.
No,
Book,
KD no.
I mean,
that's
it's
crazy.
probably up to him.
That is crazy that's how it ended. Anyways, it's just crazy how
bad
the KD
news.
stuff
Bad
ended.
news all around. That'll wrap us up, though, guys. Hit follow or subscribe if you have not already. As you all know, there's going to be news upon news starting next week, so you're going to want to be right here for it. Enjoy your weekend. Don't watch a single minute of Suns basketball, and we will catch you next time.